Hi guys, Michael Ingledew from TDW, and this week I'm in Germany. Actually, I'm in Dortmund, which is actually my hometown, but I'm here because this is kind of our annual de-stress after TDW-Live. But I wanted to talk to you about some of the key themes and key messages that came out of TDW-Live this year. Firstly, this year, TDW-Live was easily our best event in terms of depth of presentations and the level of expertise that was on display, and in terms of the level of feedback that we got from the delegates that were there over the 3 days. About 110 delegates over the 3 days that attended either the workshop days or attended all of the days, or some only turned up for the military day. So let me give you kind of the 20,000 foot overview of what happened at TDW Live. The event started with the workshop day, and there was 4 more in-depth presentations. One I gave, which was why you had to disconnect, or why you have to today disconnect paper from electronic deliveries, and the impact that that has on a tech data strategy for you when you're working on long-term projects. That presentation's been made available on TDIQ, so if you're a TDIQ subscriber, you can go and watch that. There was then a great presentation from Peter Studdard at Aspire Consulting, who actually engaged more with the audience, asking them questions about what their views were on what tech data is today and how they think tech data should be supported and how it should be deployed. Then there was presentations from Ian Proudfoot from ITPX, which was looking more at the role of CGMs and 2D graphics. And then the day was finished off with Adrian Jordan from Mekon showing the audience how to create an affordable kind of semi-IETP with the Mekon Book Build application for producing PDFs using Adobe FrameMaker. That day generated a lot of discussion, a lot of debate. I've had a couple of requests to go and do the presentation that I gave on disconnecting paper from interactive manuals in actual specific organizations where they would like to have that presentation given to management and teams within their organization. So I'll be doing that. Day 2 was the practitioners day, and this is where we get the experts in to look at a specific subject and engage the audience in looking at more of the how-tos and what's possible within our field. I started the day setting the tone for the day with a real-life look at how our youth is engaging with information today, and how and why, as tech data experts, we need to be looking at that and being conscious of that, because these guys are our next generation of user. Again, I've had a request to make that available. Once the recording's available, I'll put it up onto TDIQ, so if you're a TDIQ subscriber, you'll get access to that. Day 2 kind of highlights were Lionbridge, which really was probably the star of day 2, to be honest, which was they gave a great presentation on augmented reality. Now, what's really interesting about this is that Wendy Farrell from Lionbridge, she has been to the last 3 or 4 conferences, and each year their presentation is getting better and better and better. And in terms of the fact that you can see clearly the development that Lionbridge and the progress that Lionbridge has made in the field of augmented reality. If you compare the first year that Lionbridge came and presented, it was really a bunch of PowerPoint slides. But now, this year, Wendy had an interactive presentation. They had a starter motor down at the front, and they lifted up an iPad, they pointed it at the starter motor, and up popped this entire augmented reality environment, and it really got the audience thinking and looking at it from a wow perspective. Again, we've made that presentation available to TDIQ subscribers, and if anybody wants more information on augmented reality and how Lionbridge can help you, just get in touch with us and we will happily do the introduction for you. There was lots of presentations on day 2 from Star Group, Flatirons, Steel Technologies gave a great presentation on how they are addressing the challenge of legacy data conversion and how they are making legacy data valuable within organizations. And in fact, we've had a couple of requests for that presentation, so we are going to make that available on TDIQ also. We had our traditional Pie and Pint evening where we sat and we continued the discussion in a more informal environment where we all had a nice drink, which I've got here ready. I'm sat here thinking I really want one, and we had a nice something to eat as well. So, and the conversation carried on kind of organically over the evening, which was really nice. Day 3 was the military event, again, kind of the more military focused, how are we doing things in the defense sector. It not as dynamic as it was last year. Last year it got a little bit, should we say, exciting. This year you can see the progress that's being made within this particular sector in terms of how to and what we should be doing within that sector. Unfortunately, from day 3, of course, there's a lot of presentations that we're not allowed to record and we're not allowed to make available. And, there was a great presentation from Project Kira, which is about a network-enabled, offline, online-centric tablet for today's defense user. Had loads of requests for that. I've got the PowerPoint slides, I've got the redacted PowerPoint slides that if you want those, I can send them. You are not allowed to, unfortunately, watch the recording because we didn't make a recording, just purely because we were asked not to. Now, there was a couple of really interesting things that came out of TDW-Live this year. Firstly, it was always my intention to try and steer clear a little bit of talking about specifications, because specifications, as I'm going to do another tutorial this week from here in Germany, is that specifications are a way of doing things. They are not the way of doing things, and there is a distinct difference. So I'm going to talk about that in another tutorial. And specifications actually polarize people. You've got those that love specifications and think specifications are the way to go, and you've got those who think specifications are actually inhibiting them and are precluding them from being innovative and actually precluding them from doing things in their organization that they really want to do with TD. So the idea was that we actually steered away a little bit. You can't host an event like TDW-Live and not discuss specifications. And, Star Group and Flatirons talked about, S1000D and S1000D collaboration and S1000D innovation and those kind of things. You can't get away from that. That's just the nature of the market that we are in. But what we wanted to do was focus on those that might not necessarily have to use specifications, and there might be alternative ways of doing things. The underlying theme that came out of TDW-Live, and this was kind of more by luck than by design, is that all of the vendors and all of the presenters were talking about the changing role of information, the changing role of how we can produce information much more affordably and how we can deploy it much more affordably. In fact, I talked about some of the new innovative software that's coming out from mainstream vendors, where you can edit things like audio and video very, very quickly and very, very cheaply, and deploy things very, very cheaply. So the underlying theme was that everyone accepts now that the role of information and the importance of the information to organizations has and is changing. No more are we telling our authors to only focus on the fact that they have to just get the structure right and let the content and the format be worried about later on down the line. That's no longer the case. We have to be, as technical communicators, aware of many things. The other message that came out of TDW-Live is kind of a continuance, if you like, of Seville a few months ago, but this is something that I have been hammering on about now for 3 or 4 years, is that all of this that we do is fantastic, but what about our end user? Are we engaging with our end user? Are we giving our end user what they need and how they need it? And what I'm delighted about, and I'm not saying for a moment that I'm the catalyst for this, I'm just saying that, I started making these noises a few years ago, is that more and more people now are asking, what about the end user? What about the UX, the user experience? SDL have been talking about this now for a few years, where they talk about the knowledge journey, the user journey through the information that you provide them, which is kind of, what we should be concerned about. Specifications and structure are important, but it's not as important as making sure our end user is engaged with what we're giving them, and what we're giving them is something that they can actually use. So this year's event was by far the best event in terms of feedback, in terms of vendor support, in terms of expertise on show. We already have the vendors already lined up. There's 3 that have signed up already for next year. That we're blown away by that level of support. The dates for TDW-Live 7 have been made available already on the website. We will open up the early bird registrations in January, so those of you who can get budget early, get yourselves on. The conference is getting bigger and bigger and more popular. It's now established on certainly the UK events calendar, which is exactly what we were trying to achieve. We have made available some presentations on TDIQ, so if you're a TDIQ subscriber, you can go in and you can watch my presentation from day 1, which is about 1 hour and 10 minutes, on disconnecting paper from electronic and how and why you should have an XML strategy over a lengthy project. We have also made available Peter Studdard's presentation from the kind of closing of the conference, where Peter is really good at engaging you in thinking about affordable tech data production. We also have Wendy Farrell's augmented reality up there, and we have Berry Braster, who gave a really interesting presentation on simplified technical English and how simplified technical English can be used in an augmented reality environment. So those are all available on TDIQ. I hope you find that useful. I'm going to be creating a number of tutorials whilst I'm here in Germany. It's kind of a working break. We've already been down into the Christmas markets today, absolutely freezing, but we've taken some photos. Tomorrow morning we're hoping to get out to what was the old steelworks, because I want to talk a little bit about innovation in information and how you have to keep reinventing what you're doing to stay ahead of the game and why that is important. But in terms of TDW-Live, brilliant. Thank you to everybody who sponsored. Thank you to everybody who attended. And thank you to all of you who have taken the time to send us your comments and feedback. Make sure that you get on the newsletter list ready for the announcements for the 2017 event, which will be held again in around about November, and it will be in the UK. Whether it will be more in the Oxford area, I know a number of you have asked for us to keep it where it is, so we are looking at all options right now, but certainly the registration will open very shortly, and my laptop's about to go to sleep. So again, I'm Michael Ingledew from my hotel here in Dortmund. I hope you found the overview of TDW-Live interesting. If you have any more comments you want to send us on TDW-Live, please do send them on over. I'm going to go and enjoy my beer before I go and get myself into my bed, because it's been a long drive getting here today. But I wanted to get this done, and the hotel's nice and quiet, and they gave me permission to sit in the bar. So anyway, Michael Ingledew, hope you found that useful. Hope to get you some more tutorials later on this week.